Okay, next question. Question 3 is the first of the how questions. So I'm looking at how the writer does something, and this question is, read lines 17 to 30. How does the writer show the character of Emma? You basically have to say what Emma does in these lines, and then how the writer, whatever the writer said about her, how they've made them look. It's a 10-mark question. You must refer to text to support your answer. Example of how questions: how does the writer make the reader feel sympathy? How does the writer try to encourage? How does this text try to persuade? And the one we've got here, how does the writer show the character of Emma? This is actually a little bit of a question that you might not get in the exam too much, because it's actually quite similar to question 2. However, this is focusing just on Emma. So how question overview. So this is for both how questions. Explain why you've picked the quote and what the words mean for the reader. So explain why you've picked the quote for the question, and then say what the words in that quote show the reader. Use as many example as quotes as you possible in 13 minutes. So the question again is, how does the writer show the character? If it's a 10-mark question, we're looking for 6 to 10 quotes, 13 minutes. If it's a 5-mark question, we're looking at 4 to 6 quotes to 5 to 6 minutes. Terminology is not needed on every point. Leave it if you're not sure. So what I mean by this is metaphor, simile, alliteration. Don't find a quote and think, oh, brilliant, that's a simile. You're not going to get a mark unless you say why it's effective. So I would actually say you don't really, to get a grade 5, grade 6, you don't really need to be picking out things and saying verb, adjective. Just pick out the quote and say why it's been used. So on this question, you're going to comment on the effect of words, and they say, how do they make the reader feel? Sad, happy, whatever. So why has the writer basically chosen those words? So we're looking at where a writer deliberately used words to achieve a special effect. So for example, wanting to make the reader feel sad, or maybe wanting to make the reader feel excited. So look at the words the writer's chosen, and that's basically going to be our answer. Why have those words been chosen? Zoom in on these words and think why the writer's chosen, like I said. So let's look at an example question. How does the writer make the weather seem scary to the boy with the quote, the rain thumped against the window? So look at that quote and think, well, why has that made the rain seem scary to the boy? Well, first of all, we're going to look at the verb used. If the quote would have been the rain tapped against its window, we're getting a different feeling, aren't we? If someone is tapping, it's quite soft, quite gentle. Yeah, it's not particularly hard, not particularly aggressive. That wouldn't be scary at all, like light little rain like this. However, it doesn't say tap. The quote is the rain thumped, and that gives us a different feeling, doesn't it? When we think of the verb thumped, we think of this sort of thing, don't we? We're fighting, we think of aggression, we think of power, we think of violence, we think of someone maybe attacking something. So this kind of rain, even harder than this picture. So we think of this stuff. So basically this question is looking at words in detail, zooming on the words and thinking what are the connotations, what words are associated with it. So you're almost like a human dictionary saying, why has that word been chosen? So if I think of thumped, I think of power, aggression, anger, strength, punishment, force. So a simple point you could make for that question about why the weather seems scary. The word thump makes the storm seem strong, angry and punishing to the boy. So I've got my quote and I've basically said why that quote makes it seem scary for the boy. So the fact that the fact that the rain is thumping against the window makes the weather seem strong and angry and punishing. Okay, coverage. The examiner always says in the exam papers and when in the mark scheme that they need coverage. And in the examiner's report, in the last exam in November 2018, the examiner said students did not have enough coverage. And this basically means using quotes from all part of the selected lines. So if I had this is for this question, what I wouldn't want is 5 or 6 quotes just taken from like the first half of the extract. You will get marked down for that. That's what we don't want. What we do want is 5 or 6 quotes taken from the whole extract. So you've shown the examiner that you've looked at the start, middle and end of the question. That's what we're looking for. Write your answers from top to bottom as well. So what I mean is if you've picked out these quotes, write your first answer on the one that says near the house and do your last answer on the one that says a few spectres there to see from off. Don't jump around the whole section. Okay, so the question is, look at the character, how does the writer show the character of Emma? So like any question, what I would do is look at the extract, look at the question, and try to pick out 6 to 10 quotes that show what type of person Emma is. So you can do that on your own. Remember the questions, how does the writer show the character? So highlight or look at 6 to 10 quotes. This should only take you a minute or so. 6 to 10 quotes to show what type of person Emma is. Pause the video if you need to. So the ones I would do would be, the water would come up to your neck, maybe shows she's like a bit of a daredevil. She'd got the idea into her head, maybe she's determined. She couldn't explain why, maybe this shows she's spontaneous. She put it down to boredom and said she was up for a challenge, so maybe she gets bored easily. She believed she was invincible, but maybe she's a little bit cocky. She didn't mind a little backup, so even if she's cocky, she's still not stupid, she's still safety conscious. She knew he wouldn't be able to resist the word challenge. Maybe that's a little bit manipulative because she knows what to say to get Robbie involved. She chose her gear carefully, so again it shows she's safety conscious. So writing a grade 5 answer. So in this video, I'm looking at how to write a grade 4 to a grade 6 answer. If you want to look at the grade 9, how to write a grade 9 answer, look at my other videos. But this is looking at how to write a grade 5 or grade 6 answer. And basically the difference is we're going to use as many quotes as possible in our answer. So I want you to use a quote and says what it shows about Emma. Use a quote and say, well, what does this show about Emma? 1 or 2 sentences per quote. Don't write huge PEs. No waffle or long PE. So what I mean by that is we want 8 or 9 points with quotes. We don't want 2 huge PEs with you waffling on about 2 quotes. Because what tends to happen is you just keep repeating the same point. So pick out 8 or 9 points and tell us what that tells me about the character. So let's look at a couple in detail. So the first one I'm going to look at is Emma is shown as determined as she got the idea in her head to go to the island even though it was dangerous. Another one, she gets bored easily and wanted a challenge. She doesn't want to just lie around on the beach. So both these examples will give us a quote and they explain the quote, what the quote tell us about Emma. So the first quote, she got on her idea in her head. I'm telling the examiner, well, this tells me she's determined. The one below, that she wants a challenge, this is telling me that she gets bored easily. So I'm not going into massive detail, but I'm just showing the examiner that I've picked out a quote and told me what it says about Emma. So more, Emma is shown as determined. She's got the idea in her head to go to the island, even though it was dangerous. She gets bored easily and wanted a challenge. She doesn't want to just lie around on the beach. Although she likes danger, she's not a fool, as she's described as not totally reckless and didn't mind a backup. So I've got 2 quotes in that one. Although she's portrayed as a little arrogant, she believes she was invincible, as she believes she was invincible. She's a little manipulative where she says what to say to Robbie, as in a challenge to make him go with her. Notice I've got a quote in every single one. Although she's independent, she likes the company of others, as she wanted to persuade him to come with her. We see her as thoughtful. She picks the equipment carefully. This adverb, so again, I'm not going to use terminology a lot, but if I'm 100% confident, well, why not? I'm going to show the examiner I know what an adverb is. This adverb shows she's organised and knows what she was doing. And there we are. There they all are together. Okay. So feel free to pause and look. Basically, they're all simple, but I'm using as many quotes as possible. So instead of maybe you writing 2 PEs on 2 quotes in my 13 to 15 minutes, how many quotes have I got here? I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So I've got 8 quotes, and I probably could even do more if I had a bit more time. And basically, each one is telling me something about the character of Emma, okay, and giving me a quote to back it up. But I've zoomed in. So I've zoomed in on the word reckless and told the examiner what it means. I've zoomed in on the word carefully. I've zoomed in on the word challenge. All of those, I've zoomed in on those words and told the examiner why the writer has used them. Why do we want a lot of quotes? I've been talking about coverage, and why do we want a lot of quotes? Basically, it's because you get more marks. So if these are 2 student examples, they're similar lengths, and actually they're probably written with the same kind of quality. Yeah, so insight, they're both quite good answers. However, the one on the left only used 4 quotes, and because they've not used a lot of quotes, they've only got 3 out of 10. There's other reasons as well, but generally they've not shown the exam they've used the whole thing's only 3 marks because it's 4 quotes. However, the one on the right has used 11 quotes, and because of that it's 9 or 10 marks. So feel free to pause. Basically, really the biggest thing you can take from these videos is in your answers, don't spend lots of time talking about a few quotes. Get as many quotes in there as you can. Almost in the extract, every line or every couple of lines, pick a quote and talk about it. Okay, it's a big thing. If you use quotes, you're guaranteed to do well. So if we look at it in detail, a bit of an answer. This is a 2 out of 10 mark question answer. And again, it's only 2 quotes. It's not enough. It's not a bad answer. The writer shows the character of Emma as presenting her daring and unlike other girls, she would like to walk out to Wreck Island. So it's not a bad point. Another point they've made is she's self-centered because she believes she was invincible. Again, it's a good point. If they would have made 7 or 8 more points, they would have got a really high mark. But because only two quotes, they're not going to get a good mark. Okay, this one got 5 out of 10. Again, 5 out of 10 would be about a grade 4. Okay, so again, only 4 quotes. Again, it's not a bad answer. Could have done better by more quotes. And this one here got 8 out of 10. It's got 9 quotes. So please start linking the fact that if you do the quotes, you're going to get a higher mark. Feel free to pause these if you want to read through these real student answers. So how question overview, explain why you've picked the quote and what the word means for the reader, and use as many examples as you can in 13 minutes.